Hello, everybody. Hi, and welcome to week 8. We are almost 2 months in, and I'm sure for most of you, there are some amazing and phenomenal changes happening. And if there are not yet for you, then don't worry, because they are right around the corner and they are about to happen for you. So before we dive in, just a couple of housekeeping rules as usual. I'm sure you guys have this under wraps, but I'm gonna just go through them again. Please make sure your camera is on. We'd love to see your lovely faces. It's always nicer interacting if we can see who's behind the screen. Of course, your names, please update your name. You can just scroll over the 3 dots on the top right-hand side of your picture and just make sure your name is as you'd like to be called. If you want to go on live, which I would really encourage you to do, then please raise your electronic hand, and you can find that under the reactions at the bottom. And when you raise your hand, we're here to support you, to guide you, to coach you through whatever you may be going on today. So it's about celebrating our successes. It's about sharing our struggles and knowing that we can rise to this amazing season. So please, if you're raising your hand, start with the gratefulness as always first, and then let's dive into the questions. And I really request, if you're raising your hand, please keep the simple logistical, technical, or any sorts of questions like that to the chat. We have wonderful Louise helping us on the chat, and she's going to take care of you there. And let's leave these live check-ins for some more complex guidance, or for anything you're struggling with, or some, really great wins that you'd like to share. And that's all for housekeeping. Now, about this week going ahead, a couple of tips as we move into spring, just some key things that we really want to make sure we're focusing on. First one is breath. I really hope, hands up, by the way, who here is doing their 5-5-5 breathing at least once a day, if not more. All right, I see hands going up. Perfect. That's fantastic. Breath is the first key thing to our survival. The second one is water. Let's really make sure we're upping our water. And something interesting about our body in spring. We don't retain water when we're in spring because we need sugar to retain water in our body. And so we really have to drink loads of water, and you're going to notice you're more thirsty, and you're going to be also peeing a lot more. So please make sure you're drinking lots of water. Movement, salt, and eating some fats to get you through this season is going to be super key. And I believe now Eric has joined us. I'm going to hand over to Eric for some more information, and then we're definitely going to dive into some Q&A. So get your hands up once we're through, and we'll bring you on live. So Eric, nice to have you here.
Thanks very much. Well done. Great start. I just want to check in with everybody first. I want to use my, typical thumbs up, thumbs down. Just show me where you're at. 2 up, 2 down, 1 of each. Where are you? How are you feeling at the moment? Okay. All right. This is a very important stage of the program. This is a stage where many of you are going to move beyond just the psychological benefits and start to actually feel some serious physiological benefits, like increased energy, inches lost, weight released, that kind of stuff will begin to show up for some people. And that will be very frustrating for the some that it hasn't started to show up for yet. But please understand, you're all here going through your journey together. You're all going through your journey together. And so here's what happens is, some of you might feel like, if you hear that somebody's struggling or what have you, you might feel reluctant to share your story of accomplishment or your story of wins, because, well, I mean, can you imagine you're out to dinner with your friends, and then your friend's like, oh, I just got laid off and I don't know if I can pay my credit card bills. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm going to Africa next week on vacation. Like there's a timing thing, right? There's a timing thing. But I want to tell you that in this context, you need to ignore that social construct. This is the time for you to actually be willing to share what's going really well for you and what have you, because it is the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, remember our tunnel, we're leaving the POW camp. Well, I want you to recognize some of you are at the front of the tunnel and some of you are at the back. And we didn't decide that. It just has to do with things like your basic metabolic rate and other issues. And so there are people that are at the front of the tunnel. And guess what? You're going to hear them today talking about light that they see at the end of the tunnel, like fresh air. And if you're not feeling it yet, I want you to remember how you would feel in the tunnel, just knowing that other people are. So please do not hold back on your victories for the sake of the people to back. The people to back need to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Then also, if you are struggling with stuff, remember that you commence this journey as a battle for your freedom. And so here's a very important thing. If you are struggling, if you are dealing with any of the speed bumps, if you've had skin rashes or your energy's been a little low or any of those kind of speed bumps have coming up for you, you have a choice right now. You can blame me for those things, or you can blame the food industry for putting you in that situation in the first place. Your call. It's totally up to you which one you go with. I know my preference. My preference is that you turn any frustration you have toward the food industry that put us in this situation in the first place. And the reason for that is that if you kind of blame me or you blame the program, it's going to be very easy for your food devil to jump in there and go, oh, that Eric, man, if only he knew what he was asking you to go through. You know what would help right now? A box of cookies. That would help right now. On the other hand, if you put your frustration on the food industry itself, what are the chances that you're going to turn to the food industry for help with the thing that they cause? Not very high. So, and remember, when you are sharing anything that you're frustrated by, it's always good to start with any victories, any gratitudes, any appreciations you have to begin with. So I will be here in the co-pilot seat for the rest of the session. Back over to you, Jenny. Well done.
Thank you, Eric. All right, guys, hands up for who would like to check in.
We have Julie.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, you have muted yourself.
It says unmute.
Oh, I can hear you. I can hear you. All good. All good.
There you are.
How can we help today?
Hi, good morning. Okay, the wins. I want to share a win. I was in Estes Park this weekend with my brother and his sister. He hadn't seen her in 7 years, and they were reconnecting. It was beautiful and wonderful. And we walked down the little town, and they've got, I think I told my friends 4,500,000, it was a big number of forms of sugar in like every other shop up and down the street. And about 45 minutes in, I started to have a full-on panic attack, just anxious, ready to cry, coming out of my skin, wanting to eat something sugary. And we started looking for something bitter or some beef jerky without sugar, no dice. And I sat down and was doing the 5-5-5 breathing, taking 15 minutes, like Coach Kim had said. And I realized I was sitting in front of a bar, and in bars, they serve bitters with drinks. And so I thought, why not? And I went in and told the gal my situation of this overwhelming sugar craving that was making me almost cry. And she gave me a shot of bitters on the house. Now I think it has like the alcohol sugar or something in it. I'm not sure, but it worked. It totally worked. It took that craving away. I'm sure the sitting and breathing helped with the emotional part. And later, when revisiting why that happened, it was watching my husband reconnect with his sister after 7 years. His family has a long history of bitter and stubbornness, and I was thinking about his mother on the other side now, probably being so happy that the bitterness that she had in life with her children has been overcome by them. And even though that's a good thing, emotionally made me want to eat sugar at that time, I think. But that's what's so great and fascinating about this program this time around, coming to every meeting, reading everybody's stuff, listening to everybody's highs and lows and in between. I feel like it is automatically helping me make better choices, just almost without knowing it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So that was
So much sense.
my win. And and I took a bite of carrot. They were eating carrots, and I just grabbed one and popped it in my mouth without thinking, and it tasted like candy. I am not even kidding, like it had been soaked in sugar or something. It was, and I was asking my friends, is this my future where sweet vegetables are my candy? Because that would be amazing. It was awesome. It was awesome. So my question is, I'm in ketosis finally. I'm one of those that takes a little bit. I've released a few pounds, but I was thinking, if I'm focusing on more health than my weight now, what is my goal? Because I have a weight I'd like to be, but I thought, but is that a healthy thought process? You know what I mean? Like, when do I know I'm in my WILDFIT health? If I've got to focus on a number, let's say it's 138. Is that, does that question make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things I'd love to mention is that weight, as we know, is not a measure of health, right? It's not the measure of health that's out there. And secondly, that number changes, right? I could poo today and that number is going to change. I could drink a whole bunch of water and retain it and it changes, right? So it may not be the most ideal measure for health. And I see Eric popping in, so I know he definitely wants to say something.
Hey, Julie. You know, we're living in this weird world where body positivity has become permission to eat donuts, and commenting on somebody's weight has become a process of shaming. And, you know, and there's all this stuff about what's healthy and what's a psychosis and so on. So what I want to suggest is that, that it's perfectly okay to have a weight goal. It's perfectly okay to have a weight goal, but you can't, in my opinion, have a weight goal that is in isolation. So for example, my weight goals today are very different than they were 3 years ago. My weight goals about 3 years ago were that I would typically want to be in at around about 175 to 180 pounds. Now I typically want to be about 190 pounds. And so you have to understand that your weight goals have everything to do with your body composition and varying degrees of fitness and what have you as you go through this. So what I think is a more important thing to do is to look holistically at what feels healthy in your body. Now, this is really difficult because you're like a woman and all. And what I mean by that is that, you know, civilization and technology and media and all this stuff has been bombarding your subconscious, and even since before you were even aware of it, about, you know, like take a look at Wilma Flintstone. I mean, just to go all the way back, right? Like, you know, this idea of what a good body looks like and so on. I've just been amazed to have some partners over the past in my life that have, I've literally had partners where one partner would absolutely have killed to have the next one's body, but I know that the next one would have killed to have the previous one's body. Like, what, you know, what is going on with it? We all want what we can. If we have brown hair, we want to dye blonde. If we have blonde hair, we want to, man, I wish I had blue eyes. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing? We have all this crap going on. And by the way, I want to sort of commend France, because I've noticed recently that France has changed it so that any photograph with a model in it that's been retouched has to have a note on it that says that it's been retouched. It actually say that. Now, the note is incomplete, because what the note should say in every advertisement, in every video, in every magazine, in every poster, what it should say is that this photograph is an entire work of fiction. We took a genetically unlikely person, we painted them with a professional artist, we then had a photographic magician take photographs of them with the ideal lighting, and then we had a digital artist refine it further. So the woman you see in this picture bears no resemblance to what we think of as a female Homo sapien. Therefore, you need not compare yourself to it. That's what they should say. on the bottom, but they don't. So instead, what you have to try to kind of do is listen to that deeper inside voice about what you feel is actually healthy. And I can tell you that actually healthy feels amazing. It fills clothes very nicely. It might not fill the exact bikini the way your friend over there does, but then theirs won't fit you either. And it's not like that. So it is okay to have a weight goal, as long as the weight goal is tempered against all the other metrics like body fat percentage and that sort of thing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, we have Ruth up next.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Ruth.
Thank you for taking my questions. My wins are, well, firstly, let me be grateful for the recording because of my work schedule. I haven't been able to attend recent live calls, so I've been really grateful for the replays. And my wins have been on an emotional level, really. I mean, body-wise, I'm kind of doing quite well. Ketosis is kind of, that journey is kind of sucked in places, but it's like the goal is in sight, so that's been okay. But for me, it's been, I was out with some friends on the weekend, and they ordered cake and biscuits as usual, and actually they didn't order me anything, which sounds really weird, but actually for me that was a really big win. There was no pressure to eat what they're eating, there was none of that. And I knew a lady I'd never met before actually said to me, why aren't you eating? And they just answered for me that she doesn't eat sugar. And it was just end of, and they let me get on with it. So for me, that's a really huge win. That I've stopped being weird, Ruth, she's not eating sugar. What do you mean you're not eating potato? That person. And I've just become the person, they just leave me alone. So that's really cool.
Awesome.
I'm really happy about that. And my question is kind of in the same vein, really. I have a 15-year-old son who is kind of following along with me. He's at the point where he's cut out all refined sugar and caffeine, and he's limiting certain things. So rather than eating bread every day, so he's not gone full into it, but for him, I feel like he's on a really good beginning of his journey. And I'm really happy with the changes he's making, upping his fruit and veg and all of that kind of stuff. No process, because obviously I'm buying the things that I need to eat right now. And so if he wants anything different, it's kind of like, it's maybe pasta sometimes or bread. So I'm not unhappy with that because I know he's young and it's part of his process and his journey. But what I wanted to do really was to ask for some reassurance, because what I am getting now is from a lot of my family that I'm being an irresponsible parent for not letting my son have all these lovely things, or for not, for restricting his diet and all of that sort of thing. Bearing in mind there's Alzheimer's and dementia at various forms, heart disease, diabetes, all in my elder sort of relatives. For me, it's a no-brainer, but they've been saying it so much, I'm just feeling really anxious that, that little voice has come in. Is this the right thing? Is this the right thing? And I think I just need someone to tell me who gets it, that it is okay.
Yeah, no, I can totally appreciate where you're coming from, Ruth. And let me just ask, how is your son feeling? Like, what's his energy like? What's his mood like?
He's doing good. His like teenage acne is starting to clear up. He's sleeping better. He does martial arts. He's training more. He can feel the difference, and he's starting to say things like, "Oh boy, Mum, I've got, pizza gives me food hangover," and so he's starting to use all these terms, and and he's very open and saying that he's not ready to give up those other things yet, but that's kind of. I'm not telling him he shouldn't eat it. I'm just saying things like, well, maybe take a rest from pasta for a week or two. And, so I'm trying to support him rather than dictate, but he's feeling good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I wanted to kind of highlight, is that we can be or become our own evidence, right? If you're doing something like this and you're feeling great and your son's feeling fantastic and he has lots of energy, that in itself is your own proof or your own evidence that, yeah, this is great. This is working. Like he's doing really well. So that's one thing. The second thing is, just like Eric was mentioning with the marketing on this body image aspect and this subconscious messaging of how we're supposed to look, you can just imagine how ingrained it's become in our lives, in our social circles, that no, you need to have X, Y, Z on your plate. There's got to be carbs of the breads, the pastas, the rice, the cereals, the dairy, and all of that. And, you know, a lot of that is coming from there as well. So we can appreciate where it's coming from. But I like to take that body evidence of, yeah, I'm doing great and I'm doing fantastic as your own truth.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
also, Ruth, really fascinating because if you take somebody who's eating on the standard American diet, which means they're headed for cancer, heart disease, respiratory disease, diabetes. I mean, statistically speaking, that's not a hyperbolic statement. That's just the way it is. But if that person now decides to start eating better, everyone around them feels like they have the right to say something. Like, oh, why are you doing that? Why are you not letting your kids eat that? Why are you not that? Meanwhile, what should be happening is that the parents who are buying them, their children, Pringles, every other parent should be going, what the are you doing? What are you doing? Coca-Cola for your 4-year-old? What are you thinking? Like, are you going to introduce them to crack cocaine next? Like, but weirdly, the food manufacturers have normalized their foods, and one must use air quotes. I hate air quotes, but I can't say foods without them in that situation. So they've normalized the introduction of these toxic, addictive substances to the point that if you now restrict them, people are like, ooh, interesting. So that said, though, Ruth, your children are?
My son's 15.
Son, 15.
Yeah.
So you're at a very tricky age for that kind of stuff. Because the beautiful thing is, and telling you this won't help because you didn't do it, and neither did I with my first one, whatever. But if you can hold off the introduction of those things young, the battle's away a lot better. But now the ship has sailed, and here you are at 15. So let me ask you: are you forcibly restricting, or encouraging, or disencouraging? Like, what's actually happening?
I've decided that I'm not buying any food to bring in the house with refined sugar or fake sugars at all. And that's been like, that was kind of like easy because everyone's kind of gone, actually, that makes like, why is there sugar in salmon? So it's that kind of like, you know, and even my husband, who's probably the most skeptical if I want a better word, is actually going to go, we're not, you know, he'll put things back and go, no, that's got sugar. That's a third ingredient. It's actually, you know, it's meat. So why has it got sugar in it?
Yeah.
So all of that's working really well. And with my son, I said to him, you know, I'll do it at you can come with me at your pace. So I've not told them anything. I've not told him he can't have anything except, and I said to him, if you want refined, you know, if you want to go and buy yourself a Coke, I'm not going to stop you, because as soon as I say no, he's going to go and buy himself a Coke, because that's how his, you know, that's teenage brain and also his personality. So I've not told him no for anything. And I've even a couple of times sort of said, you know, all my friends are going to McDonald's today, and I'm like, well, you know, if you really want to go, and he's kind of gone, no, it doesn't taste so good. So he's actually starting to feel and taste.
Ruth. On what basis is anybody giving you crap for like restricting? How are they saying that?
They're saying, they just kind of saying things like, how can it be healthy? You know, what about his liver? All these random things. And I think because I'm going in to ketosis myself, and I'm kind of feeling that low, it's like I haven't got the energy to go, you know, basically, and
debate it with
in a rude way, go away. And so I think it's creeping in, and then those doubts have kind of started to seep in. And I guess I just wanted somebody to say, no, you're doing okay, really.
No, you're doing better than okay, as far as I can tell. You're communicating. The only thing I would add to it is, one of the things I love to do when kids get into that window, say above 12, 13 years old, up to whatever, is that I believe that what we should be doing with children at that point is increasing their allowance dramatically and then not buying them anything. And I mean that, like, you increase their allowance, but you stop buying clothes, you know, maybe the big things like a winter jacket or something, you know, but they buy all their own fashion clothes, they buy all their own stuff. And the beautiful thing is, now when he wants to go out to McDonald's, it's not only that it doesn't taste that good, but it's like, oh, he's going to have to spend his own money for that. And I think, you know, that is, I've done that even with my son. We're in a restaurant and he wants to order a Coke, and I'll go, separate bills, please. I'm paying for the food, but I'm not paying for the Coke.
Mhm.
And I think there's another component there where it's like allows them, because the thing is, it's silly, but at the end of the day, the choice to eat something or not eat something is a list of consequences versus benefits. Well, if you're paying for it all, you've eliminated one of the consequences, right? If he has to pay for it and recognize that eating that thing means he can't buy that thing, all of a sudden it adds one more level of consciousness. So I think you're playing the game very, very well. You stick with it, and I'm proud of you, and I'm certain that your son, it already sounds like he's seen the benefit of it, but I'm certain he's going to be grateful for this in the years to come.
Thank you very much. I love the idea about the money, because that's a great motivator. Thank you. And it's
You're
also
welcome.
me saying, actually, no, I wouldn't buy him cigarettes. So why would I buy him a Coke? So it's kind of a no-brainer. So thank you very much. I feel much better now. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, we have Kathy up next.
Hello, Kathy.
Hi, good morning.
Good
Can you
morning.
hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. First of all, thank you so much for the calls, because I look forward to them, and I love hearing all the people sharing their different experiences. You know, if my mother or my dad had known this, I probably would not have been sitting here getting this phone call right now. So thank you, Ruth, for being such a loving mother. My question is, and the things that I'm grateful for is, I feel lighter in my clothes. I haven't done my measurement really since the beginning of the program, but I do feel like my clothes are lighter, and I like the whole person feels lighter, and I feel like my skin is like it doesn't attach to shirt as much. However, I think starting last week, so this week is week 8, right? So week 7 and maybe sometimes in week 6, I every now and then I will have an elevated heart rate. My heart rate is usually pretty low, maybe like close to the 60s per minute, but probably like 55 per minute. But then in the past 2 weeks, some of the days it has been going to 65 or 68. And then also sometimes I will have swollen legs, like they're not like edema, but I could feel like when I press on them that they're very tight. And I looked up online. I wasn't sure if I was dehydrated or not. So I started adding some salt into my daily water. And then the thing happens, but it's not like every day. It's like sometimes it happens, sometimes it does not. And also been having dry mouth. So I just want to know if this is normal, if this is ketosis, and what can I do to make myself feel better? Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Eric, I see you're coming up.
Just ignore me.
Okay, cool. So about the heart rate, actually, what's the question about the heart rate going up?
Just
Is
doesn't
that
make me
all the
feel
time,
good.
particular, or just
Like,
to make you feel good?
It doesn't make you feel good. And when I first start noticing it, I thought I was getting sick. You know, sometimes when you get a flu, your heart rate goes faster. So I got in the sun, but then the next day it persisted. So I looked up online and it really, like, it made me feel a little uncomfortable. And then yesterday sorry, go ahead.
No, carry on.
Oh, so yesterday I went into the forest and went hiking, and the elevation was a bit higher. And I noticed that when I was climbing some stairs, it was like I didn't feel good about my heart. And I'm 40-year-old, and I don't think that I've had any heart disease diagnosed. I've usually had a pretty healthy heart. So I just want to know if this is normal and it's part of the program, because I start getting worried if I'm always in this condition for the however long weeks we're gonna be in ketosis, that I'm not gonna feel good, because it really, like, I feel like my heart is working extra hard to pump whatever that needs to be pumped into the whole body.
Hey, Kathy, it's not so much that it's a result of ketosis, it's a secondary result that can happen. And it has generally to do with a combination of one or of the other: dehydration, low salt, or low electrolytes generally. And so one of the things that happens when people, and it doesn't actually have a great deal to do with ketosis. It has to do with removal of a lot of the processed foods that are so spiked with salt all the time. And so as we start to remove a lot of those foods, and we're now eating much more natural existing foods, then our bodies kind of, have to go through an adjustment about that. And so it seems like you probably aren't dealing with dehydration, I would imagine, because we've been instructing to drink lots of water, and you're eating more water-based food now than probably before, and so on. But what it might have to do with is electrolytes. You mentioned adding salt to your water, probably a good idea. I don't have a bottle. Do you have that essential minerals? I'll show you what I use for this, and you can just throw it or not. I use these. Oh, they're not going to show up that way. This way. I use these trace minerals. It's very concentrated trace mineral salts, and I add some of that to my water every day, and what have you. And so I would really start there. I suspect that's all that's really going on. I don't think it's anything to be worried about.
Cool. And should I add water? And should I add more water? I'm sorry. Should I add more? Look at my brain. Should I add more salt right now, or just keep it as?
I like to take rock salts and drop them into my water bottle, and I do that sometimes, and let it just sort of permeate out into the water. But then these are even better, because I just dropped 3 drops into a liter like that, and you can notice if you go too far, because then your water starts tasting salty, which of course doesn't really taste all that nice. So the key is to get it to a level where, and I have found now that when I drink water that doesn't have it, it feels a little empty to me, frankly. Now, it's very important that I do that, because most of the water that we drink here is distilled water. We don't have access to mineral water the same way that we would if I was in America somewhere. So therefore, I remineralize the water, because otherwise I'll notice that, and I'll find that I get leg cramps or what have you. So I think that's the best thing for you to do is to add some salt or trace minerals directly to your water. Add salt to your food to flavor. Don't make it taste salty, just make it taste nice, but don't be afraid of using salt. There are many things that have been vilified in the world. We've been told that meat is bad. We've been told that salt is bad. And there's all this stuff that matter of fact, I think everything has been bad at some point, but some of the things that have been bad have never been bad. And salt is one of those. The only time that I think salt is actually a real problem is apparently about 10% of the population has a linear relationship between salt and blood pressure. But I can't prove this as yet, but I believe that it has first to do with sugar. It has that they've got too much blood sugar, and then the salt is causing a spike after that.
I think we may have lost Eric a little.
We might.
But
Yeah.
Kathy, I think you've got but Kathy, I think you've got the answer there, that everything's right on track.
Awesome. And one more question. So if my mouth tastes like salty, is that normal? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
the flavor of your mouth will change depending on what your primary fuel source is. So when you're burning predominantly sugar, you produce a particular set of gases from you, right? When your body switched to producing predominantly fat, you produce different gases, and they taste different. And it's not bad or good or whatever, it's just different. And of course, because many of us have never gone through the seasonal rotation before at all, we think the different is bad. No, it's not. It's just different. It might have a slightly different flavor to it, but nothing that I would really worry about. And one thing, Rebecca, again, same, water and salt, water and salt, water and salt.
So the trace mineral, it looks like you got it from CVS. I'm assuming I could get it from Amazon as well. Is that right? Trace mineral drops. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, we have Louise up next.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the last two questions have been great, actually. I also noticed my heart rate had gone up and was thinking about, should I give my baby potatoes and pasta and all of that? So, but yeah, I just, first of all, just want to loop back from 2 weeks ago when I was preparing for my trip to Spain, and share, you know, my gratitude because it went really smoothly. Nicole sent me some great ideas for things that I could get from a tapas bar. Had one like mistaken order where I had to kind of, you know, give it to my friends that order something else. But yeah, with the language and everything, I was really pleased that that all worked out. And I think definitely a learning was just preparation. So, you know, I did have a whole like hand luggage suitcase of food, which was great with all the baby stuff as well. But I brought a NutriBullet, which actually isn't that heavy. And I bought like kind of the first day smoothies, like all zip locked up. Joe gave me my coach gave me some great instructions on how to do that. And yeah, we were having, you know, alkagizers every day, and it was really awesome. And then emotionally, I actually had a really tricky situation come up, just with kind of a situation involving my baby, where I felt like she was unsafe, and I had to just make a really like quick decision to come back to England. And I don't know, although I have been feeling a bit low on energy and I've been again working with Joe around what to do with that. I just have this like clarity, you know, this groundedness and ability to just deal with that situation, make a decision, take action, not go into drama. And, you know, I can't help but think that, you know, not having all the sugar and the crap and the caffeine and, you know, like it just felt really good. So just wanted to share that as a kind of like other kind of win. And when I came back, I didn't really know, because I had been eating, you know, a decent amount. I wasn't sure what would happen with the weight. And I'd lost, I think, 1 kilo or 1.5 kilos. And yeah, I'm sort of like 1.5 kilos off what I was pre-pregnancy, which, you know, feels like I'm doing it at a slow rate, a safe rate, you know, and as I said, getting the support from Joe, which was really important to me, just because last time I did WILDFIT, I didn't have any support or live calls or anything. And I just decided to just adapt it and stay in summer the whole time. And it's just felt good to kind of do this, you know, do it with support and still get the benefits and experience of spring. So yeah, and I you know, don't know that I've really got any big questions. I don't want to take up anyone's time, because I had a session this afternoon with Joe, so I've kind of asked a lot of my questions. I suppose one thing I didn't ask, though, maybe a quick one, is just if I'm feeling that low energy, should I not exercise? I just, because I haven't exercised in 3 days, and normally I exercise 2 yoga, 2 body combat, and 2 personal training, and I'm really rigid on that. But I've just not been doing it, and it's just I know I have been getting out and walking and doing, you know, a bit of other things, but like what are the thoughts around just, you know, dialing that back a little bit?
Yeah, no, awesome, Louise. Congrats on your travels and well done. And I agree with you. And I'm sure so many people here can relate that clarity that you get from spring is amazing. You're able to handle situations, decision making so much better than before. So amazing. And how good does it feel to come back from holiday having released weight?
Yeah,
it's very
not the usual.
Yeah, so well done. So on the movement, I personally did find when I was doing the transition in spring that I hit a really, really low point. And to be honest, the only thing that actually got me out of it was doing movement. So I started with just like a light walk, and then I upped it. And I like that you mentioned body combat, because I love body combat. Les Mills, yeah. So so what it did for me was adding in that bit of movement actually helped me push past the low point that I was in. And I often share this with clients that if you're feeling really low, sometimes you just need to demand a bit of that energy from your body to get it fully kicked into this mode. Yeah. So perhaps try that. If you've taken a break from it for like 3 days or more and you're feeling low, then maybe switch it up and do a little bit. You don't have to do anything intense, or, even with body combat, there's different levels that you can do it at. You don't have to go all 100% in, just get the movement going. And see if that helps your body switch on into utilizing the energy better.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. Because like today, I had a bit of I was on leave and I just didn't do anything, just stayed at home all day. And actually the minute I got out and walked in nature, like I felt better and more energized. So that's good. And whatever it is, just adapting it, but getting something in to reboot it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely can help. Thank you, and well done. Keep it going.
Cheers.
Okay, we have, I think it's William.
Mute. All right, here I am. I have a question related to the salt. I use a teaspoon per liter of Himalayan salt to supplement the minerals. I understand Himalayan salt has a lot of minerals, and because it's from ancient seas, it's not polluted with any contaminants. Here's my question, is there an amount of salt that is recommended?
Great question, William. Thank you, and nice to have you here. So I would say, using your taste buds as the best measure, because it's going to be different for everybody's body. So like Eric was saying, if you're putting a teaspoon of salt in a liter of water, and if the water doesn't taste salty to you, then you're probably okay with that amount that's going in. The other thing I notice is generally in spring, your salt intake goes up. So I notice even when I'm in spring, I'll tend to add more salt in the food. And I know because the people I'm cooking for keep telling me it's too salty, whereas for me, it's the right level. So you will notice in this season, you're probably going to have more than you usually do, which is okay if you're using, these mineral salts. So if it's tasting okay to you, then all good.
Yes, and what I'm using is 2 to 3 liters per day is my water intake. So
okay, fantastic.
That's what I'm concerned about. Okay, that's it. Next.
All right, fantastic. What wins have you had, by the way, if you could just share one?
Pardon me?
If you could just share one win that you've had.
One win? Gosh, there's so many. But I went from 240 pounds to 175 where I'm at now.
Well
That
done.
was the main win to start out with.
That's amazing, fantastic.
And with no
Fantastic.
diet.
Exactly, and with no diet. Fantastic, fantastic. Keep it up, keep enjoying the amazing feeling, and remember it throughout.
Okay, I have one question to make everybody smile. What do you call a cow that just had a calf and a lot of people drink it? A cow that just had a calf is decaffeinated.
Thank you. Thank you, William, for that.
Okay, we have Naomi
A
next.
great one.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I just want to say I'm grateful to be here, and of my wins so far, I've measured myself last week. I have no idea about weight because I don't want to measure my success on a number. But saying that, this is a number. I measured myself and I've lost 48 centimeters everywhere so far. So I'm really, really happy because 9 of those are on my waist and 9 again is kind of just under my boob. So it's kind of all the upper body part. And I just feel amazing. All my clothes fit so much better. Some of my trousers, I can pull the band all the way around and it's loose all the way around. And some people have actually started to notice now. So I'm really grateful for that, and for my coach, Jane, she's amazing, and also Rachel. But this week, the first week of spring, I felt awful. I was like Jekyll and Hyde, horrible. Got over that. Last week, I felt really, really good. I was enjoying trying out different recipes and things. and it went really well. And even my kids, someone else, the other lady was saying about her son, my two boys, every time, you know, I was eating my food, because I try and make the same thing, but sometimes it doesn't work out. So I make my own thing, and they are always eating from my plate, like cauliflower tortillas, you know, and they're trying to pinch my things. And I'm like, I've made these for me, you know, you can have some, but this is my dinner. So they've definitely benefited, and we've started adding a lot more vegetables in that we didn't eat really before, like steamed cabbage and things. So my whole family is benefiting from my journey. But my question today is, this past week, I'm struggling a bit because I just started working in a middle school, and I've picked up what they call the September viruses. And I am so choked up, my throat, my chest and everything. I feel like not that I've got the flu, I'd be in bed, but I do feel pretty bad. And normally this is the time where I would get some sticky, sugary kind of cough syrup and things like that. Obviously, I haven't had anything like that. I'm still drinking my Alka-Geisers, and the kids at school are loving that too. They're trying to guess every day what ingredients I have in my Alka-Geiser. But I'm still deep in spring. But I know that this is going to pass, but right now I'm struggling a bit. So I was wondering if there's anything whilst in spring that I can do to help this push along a bit quicker.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing, Naomi, and well done on all your wins. It sounds
Thank you.
fantastic. So with the sore throat, one suggestion I do have is taking whole cloves and just sucking on them as if they were a sweet. I know a client had actually told me that they were doing that, and it really helped them with their sore throat. So you can try that to ease off if it is burning or hurting. Of course, loads of water, which I'm sure you're already doing. And just note that being in spring is one of the best healing seasons that you can be in. So you may find that you actually come through this a lot faster than maybe you would have ordinarily, which is great news. So it's not going to last very long. And of course, warm water, I tend to find, helps a lot more than just drinking room temperature or cold water. And feel free to do boiled ginger as well. Boiled ginger with then a dash of lemon at the end. And there's no need to add honey to that. So you can have boiled ginger and lemon water to sip throughout the day as well.
Fabulous. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. But the cloves definitely help. And I know if you're a teacher, you're probably talking a lot through the day as well.
Yeah, no, I do have cloves, so I'll try that tonight. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Wishing you well.
Thanks.
We have Gabriel next.
Hello. Let's see.
Hello, Gabriel. How can we help?
That's it. I just want to say my win was the other day I was going through and shopping, and I saw these petite tenderloins. And I was really excited. Store hadn't had those in a while, and I was looking. There was one that was teriyaki flavored, so I knew that one was going to have sugar. So I looked at the other one; it was just supposed to be like salt and pepper and that kind of stuff. And then I looked at it, and I saw this symbol that I hadn't noticed much or whatever, but it was like it was a less than one next to sugar, and I was like, that's odd. Like, why is there a less than one on the ingredients? So I read the ingredients, because at first I was like, okay, it's meat or whatever, and it's got salt and pepper and that kind of stuff. But then I looked, and there was actually sugar, and it was just straight up sugar. It wasn't even like a thing, but it was one of those where it said it was like less than something amount, which that's why the symbol was on there, which I had not noticed before and other stuff. And I was having this debate. It was like my food devil was like, oh, well, it's not even really there if it's less than that, if the FDA, makes them put it there or something like that. And then I don't know, like I was just having my food angel as being kind of lazy for a little bit. And so I was talking to myself in here, not out loud, luckily, in the store for a little while about this. And then finally my food angel got out of bed or something like that. It's like, it's got sugar, put it away. And that was that. And that was the end of it. And so I was really happy about that it was just one of those where it's like, I didn't allow anything of that in. And then also just feeling really well in spring. Like last night, I went to bed late. I was up playing video games, and I woke up this morning at 7 o'clock, like 5 hours of sleep, which usually for me is not my normal outside of spring, and felt great. Like got up, started doing stretching. Yeah, so overall doing really well. And one question I have, and this one may require Eric, because I'm starting, or I'm a few weeks in, 3 weeks in, to Wilder Body. So I've actually switched over, because I used to be doing a lot of like hard, more intensive gym weight training, and so I've switched over with spring, kind of doing more cardiovascular, walking, jogging, that kind of stuff. And looking forward into the program, I don't know if I know there's a point where it's going to talk about weight training, and if there's any recommendations for how to do the weight training well, not
Gabriel, are you trying to jump ahead in another program of Eric's? I think you know how this works. We don't give spoilers.
I know in his, but I don't like. It's one of those where it's like I was doing heavy weight training, and that was actually causing an issue with me in spring. And I know that there's going to be a time when he's talking about weight training about their body. So I'm just looking for any recommendations ahead of time. Like, are there either foods that I should add in that would help with weight training?
No. Gabriel, when you've known me long enough, when have you?
I think you might have froze. But there also will be Wilder Body calls, Gabriel, and I think that'll be a better place to ask those questions. So hang in there. It's going to come, and Eric, he'll lead you on the right path. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Okay.
And just for anybody else exercising during this time, if it is your first time going through WILDFIT Spring, generally the idea is stay in a great aerobic state. Aerobic state meaning you're doing exercise while you can continue to have a conversation. So even if you're doing a little bit of lightweight work, that's totally fine, as long as you're able to hold a conversation and talk casually. But as soon as you're crossing over into the state where you're like struggling to talk and you have to really push and struggle to breathe, you're moving into anaerobic, and that's a little bit more stressful for the body in spring if it's your first time going through this. If it's not your first time, it's a different story. Maybe your body's more adjusted, but that's the general base guideline.
Yeah, well, it's my second time going through it, and I've gone into spring a few times, but I definitely found that doing that heavier exercise limited me getting into and really making the switch. So that helps. Thank you.
There you go. Okay, thanks.
Okay, we have Nicole next.
Just very quickly, sorry, Nicole, on exercise, you guys, I just want to be clear that there are two reasons why we don't spend a great deal of time focusing on exercise at this stage of the program. The one is that, frankly, any program that asks you to do too much is basically just preparing you for failure. So you'll notice that the way WILDFIT is constructed is it's very easy for you to stick with it week by week by week. It's incremental. Can you imagine if we dumped all of this on you in week one? Because that's how diets work. They just dump all this stuff on you in week one plus exercise. So that's why they fail. And or at least one of the many reasons they fail. And so that's one reason that we don't, put a big focus on exercise. But another reason is that when you go through this change, particularly the first few times, it's stressful, and intensive anaerobic exercise is also stressful. This is a bigger issue for women than for men, but it's still an issue nonetheless. And so we will talk more about exercise in weeks to come. But for the time being, I recommend that unless you're very already acclimatized to it, this is not a great time for super intensive anaerobic exercise, but it's a great time for gentle aerobic exercise like hiking, walking, biking, swimming, stuff that gets your heart rate up that doesn't stress you out. That's it on exercise for today.
Okay, Nicole.
Hey everyone.
Hey Nicole, how's it going?
Hey. Good. So I'll just start with my wins. I think for me, the biggest win I've gotten so far is the energy surge. So I used to be like very grumpy in the morning. I don't want to see anybody, don't want to talk to anybody. And then on Friday, I just switch off my phone. I don't want friends to call me or try to make plans with me because I just want to go straight to my house, bubble bath, couch potato on my bed. So for the last 3 weeks, I've actually been feeling like pretty pumped on a Friday. Like a Friday feels like the middle of the week, like I can still go on. So I think for me, I came here looking for that. So I'm actually pretty stoked about that. And I think that's what
Awesome.
keeps me going. Even like because I'm a sweet tooth and I normally have temptations around like pastries. So whenever I'm about to like fall into temptation, like the question for me is, do I really want to go back to being that grumpy person who just doesn't have energy for the things that really matter? So my question is on breakouts. So I know we've already gotten some coaching that breakouts are expected because it's one of the ways that the body is trying to release toxins. So my question is there a way to tell whether the breakouts are no longer part of the toxin release process and maybe you are taking in too much fat? Because now I feel like I'm waking up with like painful pimples, or sometimes they even just magically appear like within 2 hours. Like I wake up with a smooth face and by lunchtime I have this huge zit like on my forehead.
Great question. And well done on your wins. I love the fact that you've got all this energy coming through. With the skin breakouts, it is a lot of the times a transition phase. Like you can imagine that your body is going through this switch that it's probably not done in many years to come, if at all ever you've tried doing that. And all of a sudden it's trying to release these things that it's been holding on to. And we release fat through the skin, through breath, and through other means as well. So if you feel, by the way, how much fat are you having at the moment? What's your fat intake?
So I probably have like half an avocado in my Alka-Jaiser, but that's the Alka-Jaiser for 2 days because I normally make it in batches of 2. Then I alternate having a handful of nuts. So if I have it on Monday, then I probably won't have a handful of nuts on Tuesday. And then sometimes I will saute my vegetables. Okay. Typically, I haven't been having the fat bombs. I think the first fat bomb I made was this weekend when I did the turmeric tea with the coconut oil and stuff.
Yeah. And did you notice this pimple come out after you had that drink where you added coconut oil?
Yeah, so I did, because like today I have like 2, you can't see them from the camera, but they're pretty painful. Yeah. And they're like overnight zits.
Okay. So if you're able to make that connection, and you could do this and test this because you're becoming very aware of how, your food timeline works. If this is, you had the coconut and then now you're getting the breakout, then potentially it is that excess oil or the excess fat coming out that your body isn't used to metabolizing or using as effectively. Then you could just cut back on that and reduce it a little bit. Alternatively, it is this transition phase that's happening. And I think you're going to be the best person to be able to notice and watch that. So give yourself a break for 2-3 days and then test it out again and have the coconut oil, which is, really great healthy fats, and notice if you get the breakout again the next day. And then you'll definitely have your answer.
Thank you.
Makes sense? Okay, awesome. Thanks, Nicole.
Okay, we have one more. Bonnie, last one.
Last one. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Okay, so you guys know me, how grateful I am and how crazy I can be. Let's see. I was getting very irritated with myself because this is my 3rd time through the challenge. And I have been not following spring as closely as I did in my first challenge. And then I went camping this weekend, and so on the menu plan, they had salad bar. Okay, but other people's view of salad bar is completely different than ours.
Yeah.
So when I got there and the salad bar was pasta salad, bean salad, and potato salad. I realized that in the food plan there were no vegetables on this plan. So luckily enough, I'm a WILDFIT person, and I had packed all of my food. I had packed plenty of food. And the other thing that I noticed was that when adults go to camp, they end up being 8-year-olds, and So here is my cooler packed with broccoli and cauliflower and green beans and grilled chicken and spinach and lettuce and cucumbers. And I laid my stuff out on the table and people kept coming over going, oh, that looks delicious. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's all mine. I'm not sharing. Get away from the cucumbers. And I also this is my observation. My observation was that going through the challenge third time, I have achieved food freedom. And the reason I know that for a fact now is that I was not tempted by any of those salads, nor was I tempted by the entire huge plate of homemade chocolate chip cookies that were in the dining hall. I did pick up the chocolate chip cookie and I did smell it, and it smelled fantastic because vanilla and chocolate are probably my two favorite smells. And I put it in a napkin and I put it in my bag and I brought it home to a member of my family that can absolutely have chocolate chip cookies. And I could have had the chocolate chip cookie, but I didn't want it.
That's awesome, Bunny.
I also observed that when they said we have chocolate chip cookies, that there was a literal stampede of people. Now these were adult people, not children, running to the front of the dining hall for the chocolate chip cookies. I mean, literally running. The other thing that I discovered is that my body is healthier now because I went horseback riding and I went swimming and I went hiking and I came home and I feel terrific. That's my win.
Well done. Awesome. Just one super wins. Well done, Bonnie. Just one thing I'm gonna rewrite and ask you to restate. I couldn't have a cookie, or I chose not to have a cookie.
Oh, I chose not to have any cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Awesome. Great wins. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Thank you all so much. Eric, if you'd like to come on, we can close the call off and have a great week, guys.
Well done. Thank you guys all very much for great content, great questions, great shares, and so on. I want to remind you that we are in this transitional window right now. So for those of you who are having great results, keep celebrating and keep noticing them. Matter of fact, I want you to hear something really important. We'll talk a lot more about this in sort of week 12 and 13. But what happens for a lot of people when they're like a few months past the change, you know, like what happens is that a lot of you were motivated to do this because of some discomfort or pain. You know, there was something you wanted to change. But then once that motivator is gone and you're out there, then all of a sudden it's like easy for the devil to go, well, yeah, but you're doing so well. So this week, these weeks that you're in right now, it's really important for you to associate fully to the benefits that you're experiencing. Really notice them and dive into them and feel them in your body, because that will help to keep you on track in the weeks to come. So keep up the good work. Congratulations, all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Thank you,
Much appreciated.
Very good.
Great company as ever.